What is going on, bitches? I know it's been a long time since I put any material out. Probably not that big of a deal in the grand scheme of things, huh? You know, I think the world's gonna keep on turning, right? So,
you know, guys, sometimes I'm at a loss for words, and I just don't know what to say. I just don't know what to say, guys.
Yeah, man. So I guess I'll just talk about what's going on. So basically, you know, as you guys know, working at a prominent gym here in Mexico City. Not going to say which gym, just out of my own privacy, of course, but it's one of the higher end gyms here. And things are going well, man. Things are going well. Obviously, I get to work out for free, starting to put on some mass, starting to put on some fucking traps, bro. That's right. And yeah, teaching lots of classes. In fact, tonight I got teaching a Muay Thai group class, which I actually really love teaching the group classes, man. Teaching like boxing classes, Muay Thai, fight conditioning classes, all that type of shit. And occasionally train some private people too. But yeah, man, everything's going well.
Thanks for asking, guys. You know, certainly do appreciate that. Had a little incident the other night. Had gotten to a little altercation with a
neighbor of mine. All right, so we just moved into a new apartment building in a part of Mexico City known as Polanco, and Polanco is like one of the best areas in Mexico City. You know, before I lived in this place called Villa Coapa, and if you're from Mexico City or you know about it, you probably know exactly what areas I'm talking about. I lived in Coapa, and I was working in Polanco, which was a fucking hell of a commute, dude. Like, the subway in Mexico City, which, by the way, the subway in Mexico City has rubber tires on it in case of earthquakes, because, you know, the city's really prone to earthquakes, so pretty nuts, man. But during the rush hour times in the morning and evening, it's so packed that literally you cannot get on. Like there were times where I had to wait for 4 different trains to come because they were all so packed that I just gave up and I just fucking said, fuck this day, I'm just gonna walk home. I know that in Tokyo, Japan, they actually have guys that work at the train station that their job is to push people on the subway to cram them on because the people won't let them on. And I remember one night I was by the door and I got stampeded off the subway so people could get off. Like, people were literally shoving me and pushing me. And of course my first instinct was like, how dare you? Like, I want to punch you all in the face at the same time, even though I know I'm totally fucked. Like there's no way that I'm not gonna be totally fucked. But that really, really angered me, and I think that would anger anybody. That the people would just do that to me. And not just to me, like they do it to anybody. It's not like I'm saying,
I can't believe that they do that to me.
you know, like I'm that entitled. I'm just saying that it's just that's just the situation here. Wow, I'm really going off on a tangent, huh? Anyways, my point is that I lived in Coapa, which took me about an hour to get to my current job. And then my lady and I, we ended up moving to the same area, and I'm like a 5-minute walk from my job.
However,
after a couple days of being here, you know, the reality has set in. And basically, I'm the type of guy where, like, if you live in an apartment building, I think you owe it to your neighbors to have some consideration, like, in terms of noise. That's been my biggest gripe here in Mexico, is just, like, the noise in the apartment buildings. Like, I get it. We live in an apartment building. Yeah, you know, you're going to hear other people, kind of sucks. But on the other hand, we live in an apartment building. So maybe don't play your music as loud as you can at midnight. So what happened the other night is I was watching the fights. I was watching UFC Fort Lauderdale. Great fucking card, by the way. I don't know if I really talk much about that, but I was watching it. And then around midnight, I start hearing this loud fucking music right above me. Whatever. So I go upstairs, and oh no, I'm sorry. I put in my headphones. So, like, maybe, you know, because I understand it's a Saturday night, like, I'm not going to be a fucking old, grumpy old man, but at the same time, you know, it's kind of annoying. So I put in my headphones, could still hear it through my headphones with the sound going on in my headphones. So I put on my shorts, and I go upstairs, and I knock on the door. All I do is knock on the door. I don't bang on it. I'm like, hey, shut the fuck up. or, being aggressive whatsoever. The second I do that, I hear some guy yelling in Spanish, very, very, like, pissed off, running down the stairs. And here it is, this guy, like, middle-aged dude, with a metal trowel in his hand. If you don't know what a trowel is, it's like a flat piece of metal that you use to smooth out concrete. It's like a sharp metal object. And he's yelling and cussing, and when I hear that, I'm like, oh shit, like, am I about to get in a fight right now for knocking on the guy's door, for real? Oh shit. So, like, I back up, and I'm literally ready to throw a fucking straight left in this guy's face. Which, I know it might sound, like, really douchebaggy for me to say that, but if you guys would have heard how aggressive and pissed off this guy was, like, I was like, damn, this guy does not like having his door knocked on, huh? So, he starts speaking to me in Spanish. I don't really understand what he's saying. My Spanish is still developing, of course, and, he was speaking really fast. And, he quickly realized that I spoke English, so we switched to English, and basically what happened was this. I told him it was midnight. I said, sir, it's midnight. I've been hearing your music. Can you pretty please turn it down? And, like, I said, it's super calm, super, nice, whatever. Like, respectful but assertive. And basically, what he does is he pulls out this whole thing. He's like, well, the contract states that on Friday and Saturday night, I can be as loud as I want. I can make as much noise as I want till 1 a.m. And if you guys have any sense, you're thinking what I said to him. Well, just because you can, doesn't mean you should. I mean, we live in an apartment building. It's after midnight. You're blasting music. Boom, 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 boom. And yeah, the contract says you can, but you shouldn't, because it's a dick fucking move. You know it's a dick move. And that's exactly what I said to him. I'm like, look, dude. I'm like, or I was like, sir, I was trying my best to not lose my cool or be any bit aggressive, because I know that the minute I do that, he has the upper hand. I know that as long as I stay cool, calm, collected, I am kind of in control. The entire time, this dude was aggressive. He was mad. Which, I'll get to that in a second. Let me sip my water. So I'm like, look, man, I know the contract says that you can be as loud as you want for the next hour, but you know it's wrong, man. Like that's not nice. And behind him was actually the security guard of the building. So it's like the security guard is buddy-buddy with this dude, which is even worse for me. So anyways, we continue to talk for about the next 10 minutes at a fairly it's a pretty tense conversation, of course. Eventually gets a bit de-escalated, and he agreed to turn down the music for me, for which that I thanked him. I said, look, you're obviously a very intelligent... I was trying to, fucking tickle his pickle a little bit, you know what I mean? I was trying to fucking butter him up just to make him feel like a man. Like, look, you're obviously very intelligent, very reasonable, and I appreciate you turning down the music even though you don't have to. And basically he was telling me that, I could call the police on you. I could call the police on you. For knocking on your door and asking you to please turn down your loud music after me, like, you're gonna call the cops? And he's like, yeah. He's like, yeah, I will. And then he starts busting out this whole, he starts talking to me about how his brother was the guy who built this apartment building. As if I give a fuck. Because I asked him, I was like, what, so, are you the owner of the building or something? Because you seem to know all the rules, you're busting out the contract nomenclature, you're fucking, you're being all by the book here, and you're being, think you're overreacting for me, he kind of came off as a dude who had a lot of power and entitlement, as if who is this pinche gringo to ask me to turn down my music in my building? Motherfucker doesn't even own the building, he just lives here. His little bitch ass brother built this building. And I was like, dude, it doesn't matter that he built the building. Anyways, I know you guys are like, okay, yeah, we get it, dude. But the point is this. We came to an agreement. We came to peace, no bloodshed. I reached out my hands as a show of peace. I told him several times, look, sir, I don't want a problem, don't want to fight. I just want you to please turn your music down and be a little bit more considerate to the other people here. Despite what the contract says. and basically, whatever. So I shook his hand, and of course, what does he do? He gives me an extra hard squeeze to show me that, like, that he's the fucking man. Yeah, okay, dude, we get it. So I thought it was squashed. I went back to my apartment feeling good about it. I was like, you know what, cool, man. Yeah, it was a little heated at first, but then we came to an agreement, came to peace. Awesome. End of story. So today I get a call from my woman, who is actually in the States right now. She's doing a bunch of jobs and shit for like a White House Correspondents' Dinner. Yeah, that's right, guys. We're big time. And she's calling me fucking freaking out. She's fucking freaking out. She's like, I can't believe you, blah, blah, blah. Like basically scared that we're going to get kicked out of this building now. Basically scared we're going to get kicked out of this building. And apparently what happened was this guy that I talked to, despite the fact that I was under the impression that we handled this very minor confrontation. It was not a fight. It was just a little nothing confrontation. I thought we squashed it like men, handled like men. Well, this guy goes and tells like the building administrators and like these higher up people about it. And apparently I'm like on some thin ice right now because this is what I was told. For knocking on his door. This is what I'm told. Despite the fact that he's being rude and inconsiderate, even though the contract says he can be, which is fucked up, this guy goes like a little fucking weasel. He's a fucking it's a bitch move. And he tattletales on me. He's a fucking little weasel, a little fucking bitch. Okay, fellas, if you have a, like an uncomfortable, disagreement or qualm with another man, and it starts off a little hot, but then after a few, after exchanging, words and logic and reason, you guys come to an agreement, you shake on it. And then the guy goes and tells on you to the authorities. What does that make that guy? What does that say about his character? What does that say about the type of man he is? He's not a man. He's a fucking weasel. He's a fucking weasel. How do you say weasel in Spanish? What is the equivalent to a fucking weasel in Spanish, dude? A little papi. Little fucking puto, man. Seriously, dude. So now, like, I gotta watch my P's and Q's. So basically, look, I get it. I'm in Mexico. This is not my first time living abroad. I lived in Cambodia. People were very loud there, too. And sometimes enough was enough. I had to go talk to them. Be respectful, of course. Always be respectful. But sometimes enough was enough, and I couldn't take it anymore. Because, you know what? I know that I shouldn't compare myself to others, and I shouldn't, like, assume that everybody thinks the best, or, like, or I shouldn't go around with the attitude assuming that everybody should be as considerate as me, because I will say about myself, as far as me being a neighbor goes in an apartment building, I am a very quiet dude. I don't make noise. I know I don't make noise. I know I'm considerate because if it's midnight, I'm not going to blast my music because I know there's other people. Guess what I'm going to do, guys? I'm going to put my fucking headphones on or turn it down because I'm a decent guy. People here in Mexico, and you know what? I'm not even going to take it there. It's not that I'm in Mexico. It's just that people are people, and some people are fucking oblivious, and a lot of people, I'm under the firm opinion, are stupid. I really believe most people are fucking stupid, oblivious, and inconsiderate. I really feel that way. And that could be any country. It is not specific to Mexico, so don't be like, oh, no joke, I don't like Mexicans. Oh, fuck you. It's not what I said. Anyways, next time if I have a problem, I'll go to security, but apparently security is buddy-buddy with the guy who's an asshole. So it's like, well, what do I do? Anyways, whatever, man. Not to beat a dead horse, just saying that being a foreigner in a country like Mexico, at least, you know, who do I have here to defend me? I don't have anybody to have my back. Like, I'm the pinche gringo, and these people don't have to cater to me. Not that I'm asking them to cater to me. I'm not that entitled. I'm just asking them to have a little bit of common fucking courtesy, and I think that's you know that's fairly reasonable, man. Anyways, moving on. You know, I was trying to make some videos before, like within the last couple weeks, like comparing Mexico to America. And lately, when I've been making videos, man, like every time I start talking, I'll be like 2 minutes into it, and like then I'm thinking to myself, like, what am I even saying? Like, what am I even saying right now? Like, who gives a fuck? I used to be so into making these videos that I would do it every day. Sometimes I'd make several a day. I'd put them out. I'd be thinking of video ideas all the time. But now I'm just at a point. I'm just like, what do I talk about, dude? But I thought I'd talk about it on this b-hole because it's a better format for me to just ramble for like the 20 people that are listening right now. In that video, I was going to talk about like different categories, like who's friendlier, who's more racist, this and that, blah, 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 blah. Which, by the way, excuse me, god damn it, man, I got the fucking hiccups today. As far as racism here in Mexico goes, there is racism here, but it's subtle, and it's not like it is in the United States where like every time you turn on the news, it's black versus white versus Hispanic versus blah blah blah. You know, like racism and like racial culture, whatever, is so prominent in the United States media, especially. It's just like, dude, I can't do it, man. But here in Mexico, you notice it more subtly. Is like, especially, I've noticed it in advertising, especially in advertising. Now, Mexico. When you think of a Mexican person, when, you know, people that are listening, whether you're Mexican or I don't care where you're from or whatever, if you think of a Mexican person, most likely the image that pops into your mind is a fairly dark brown person, black hair, probably a little, you know, under 5'10", we'll say, maybe a little bit out of shape looking, a little bit out of, because let's be honest. Mexicans, you know, this is not a knock on them. I'm not saying they're not tough or strong, or I'm not saying they're all like this, but generally speaking, Mexican people, not the most aesthetically, you know, well put together people in terms of like their physiques. Typically. Not that white people are, don't get it twisted, but you know what I'm saying, you know what I mean. So fucking chill. If you watch advertisements on TV, if you see it on a YouTube ad, because all my ads now on YouTube are like Mexican ads, of course. If you're driving down the street and you see like there's this milk brand here, Lala. It's a popular milk brand, or like dairy brand, I should say. You probably know exactly what I'm talking about if you've been here. It doesn't represent, the ads don't represent the bulk of the population here in Mexico. It's always the whitest, most European-looking Mexicans, which you don't really see a whole lot of them. I mean, like, granted, in my neighborhood, you see a lot more of them because, well, not just them, but like you see a lot of everybody here. In Polanco, it's more of an international presence. It's because it's a more affluent part. Well, it's one of the most affluent parts of the city, so you're going to have people from all over the world here, and you're going to have richer people here, and you know, a lot of the people with money here in Mexico, they're going to be whiter. That's just a fact. I mean, I'm just saying that based on what I like what I see with my own eyes. Anyways, I just think it's funny that they do. That's like the whitest looking Mexicans on all the ads, and it's the same thing in Cambodia too. Like you be driving then a tuk-tuk and you see a billboard for fucking pencils or whatever, fucking paper clips, and it's like a half French, half Khmer kid, or like the most pale-skinned Cambodians, when really Cambodians as a whole are like super dark. Generally speaking, they're like really, really dark, and it's the same here in Mexico because most of the people here are mestizo, right? If you don't know what mestizo is, it's basically half like Native American, half European. usually Spanish, and it's, Italian, French, all that type of shit, but usually half indigenous, half European, and then a lot of them are just straight up Native American. Another example of racism here, and kind of, I guess kind of like racism, sort of, but it's more subtle. It's not as direct. It's not like, oh, well, these people are brown, so we're gonna, fuck them, or they're less than, or, oh, well, these people are white, so they're trying to get us, let's go fuck with them because they don't have our best interests at heart. When I was, maybe, what was it, like January, I think it was late January, I was, January and February, I was on a 6-week-long trip in the south of Mexico with my lady. We traveled through, Puebla, Oaxaca, Chiapas, Yucatan, Quintana Roo, Campeche, Tabasco, Veracruz, like todos los partes del sur, all the parts of the south of Mexico. And on the way from Oaxaca de Juarez, which is like the main city in Oaxaca, to another town in the south of Oaxaca called Tehuantepec. Beautiful, beautiful drive, but we're going through these mountains. I actually think I mentioned this one time in a b-hole. Like, we're actually going through the mountains. We basically hit this roadblock. And apparently, just to make a long story short, what happened was, it was all the natives from that area, from the little town there, and like the surrounding wilderness, basically. And it was like 300 dudes and women. A lot of them had machetes. There was a giant dump truck blocking the road with gravel mounds. It was a major roadblock, and it was almost 4 hours we sat there. One fucking cop came who had like no chance of breaking it up. But basically, what happened, from what we understood, is that this is a regular occurrence there. That the natives will have a roadblock, and you might be thinking, well, what's a roadblock going to do? Like what's the point of that? And that's what I said to him. Like, well, probably not the best way to go about anything. But apparently, the reason they do that is because they just want attention from the government. Apparently, the Mexican government doesn't provide, any kind of service to that area, and they do to other parts of the country. And you might say it's because of their ethnicity or the fact that they're not significant in the grand scale of the Mexican government, and they're a bunch of natives. They're like dark brown, is straight up like Mayan, fucking Aztec, whatever. Like, they look like people from 1,000 years ago, basically. And the only way for them to get attention is to make roadblocks. Obviously, it's not working because they keep having to do it, but obviously the Mexican government is not doing them any kind of service, which I think is fucked up. And I think that kind of, it obviously has to be because these people are like indigenous. I mean, that's my guess. I'm not an expert. But yeah, you do see a little bit of racism here like that. Who's fatter? Who's fatter? I actually looked this up before I talked about it. And basically, okay, so Mexico's population is pretty much like half that of America's. Like America's got like more than twice the amount of people, I believe, right? Now, America has more fat people because there's more people, but like proportionally speaking, like I guess per capita, Mexico is fatter. Like Australia's up there, the United States is up there, Mexico's up there. The Polynesian, like Tonga and all those places over there, they're known for being pretty obese too. But Mexicans per capita, I guess, are fatter. But this is my question. How are they gathering this information? Because a lot of times what agencies will go by, or at least what I've seen in the past, like by surveys, whether it be like going to high school or just reading online, like they'll say based on on BMI charts. And BMI chart, for those of you who don't know, is body mass index. And all it is, it's a very seems like an outdated, very vague, generalized way to gauge people's, I guess, weight levels, like healthy weight. So for me, based on the BMI chart, I am obese. I am actually considered obese. And when you think of an obese person, you're thinking of a person that waddles from side to side like Humpty fucking Dumpty, like a fucking fat penguin all buttered up that can't even see their own cock. And let it be known, I can see my dick. All right, just so you know. But I'm 5'10". This morning I weighed 211 pounds, and I'm not fat. Now, I'm not shredded, but I'm a pretty solid built dude. I'm a pretty solid built dude. So I just wonder, like, when they measure the obesity levels, are they going based on the body mass index? Because on the BMI chart for me, it says that a healthy weight for me should be like 165 to 175. Now, a few years ago, I was doing a special diet. I was like really into kickboxing and stuff, and like I wanted to cut all this weight. And for me to weigh 170, I've got to really, really, really be super strict with my diet and like have no carbs. I feel low energy. I feel weaker. I don't look as good, to be quite honest. Like, obviously, like I've got like more muscle tone, but I don't feel good. I don't feel strong. I don't feel like I have energy. For me, I feel good like in between 195 and up. Like that's where, like, that's kind of my weight, because I carry more muscle, and I think I'm a denser guy. I'm just dense. So I just wonder how they're doing that. Mexicans, though, as I said kind of in the beginning here, generally they just look out of shape. The men and women. Occasionally you see some very in shape people, regardless of their ethnic background, because I think we know that the indigenous Mexicans, from what I've seen, they don't seem to quite be like as muscular. But don't get me wrong, a lot of them are strong as fuck. They're definitely strong. But I think it's the diet. I actually can't say that it's genetic. Because obviously I'm not a fucking biologist or whatever. I think it's got to be the diet, because the Mexican diet, as a lot of you know, is corn based. It's mostly corn, beans, rice, and a lot of it's fried in fucking vegetable oil, canola oil. And Mexicans love fucking sugar. They love sugar. They like their fucking, what are they called? Pan dulces is like a sweet bread, like a dessert bread. I see that all the time. Everywhere you go here in the city, you see street food. You see a guy on a bicycle with like a wicker basket full of sugar bread. They sell Coca-Cola. I see people here drinking soda all the time. So I think it's diet. I'm sorry that I said that it's genetic. I don't think it's genetic. I think it's dietary. And I think that Mexicans are generally overweight because of their diet. Simple as that. That's why I don't really eat a lot of Mexican food anymore. I like pretty much all the food I eat now. I just go to the Superama or La Comer, which are like Mexican supermarkets, basically. They're just like any regular supermarket in the States, but they're only in Mexico. And I just get like rice, I get broccoli, I eat a shitload of eggs, I eat fruit. I rarely eat the street food anymore, because every time I do, I always feel like it's too much grease, and I feel not good. I just don't feel good. And I feel like it's just really unhealthy. So Mexicans are fatter. Moving on. Who's tougher? Who's tougher? Mexicans or Americans? Tougher. And what do I mean by tougher? I mean like who could kick whose ass? Well, I think that's pretty even. I think that's pretty even. Like, sometimes Mexican dudes or women can fucking throw down, man. They fucking throw down. They throw those fucking chingazos, man. You know, some Americans can throw down too. I'm not necessarily talking about who's tougher in a fight, because that's like a case. That's like a individual basis. Like, some Mexicans are badass fighters, some of them aren't. Some Americans are badass fighters, some of them aren't. I'm talking about like toughness and attitude, and I guess what I'm trying to say is that there's kind of a bitch culture in the United States. There's a bit of a bitch, and you see it a lot in Europe. You see it in Australia. Basically, it's PC culture. Now, I haven't noticed that here in Mexico. Like, especially with gender roles. Like, Mexicans In my experience, and again, I have to reiterate, in my experience, based on my observations, Mexicans are very traditional in a lot of ways. They're actually very traditional, like culturally, religiously, pretty much in every facet of life, especially in gender roles and family roles. Like women are women, women do women shit, men do men shit, men are men, women are women. There's like a clear distinction. There's no, oh well, if she wants to be a man and then be a woman the next day, it's all good. Or if he feels like a girl today, then you better use your pronouns, or you're a sexist and transphobe. And then if he decides he wants to be a cat the next day, then you better call him, you better say meow to him. You know what I fucking mean? You don't get that here. At least, don't get me wrong. I'm sure it's in some small pockets, but it's not a thing here. Even like with something that my woman was telling me too, like older women here, there's like a cultural thing where like women aren't supposed to work out. Like that's something men do. Now obviously the younger generation does, because I guess they kind of moved on from that, because I think it's pretty common knowledge that it's healthy to exercise and like eat good. But a lot of the older women here are like very fat and like super disgusting physically, and that's just a fact. I know that my woman is older. She's not an old woman. She's not an old lady, but she's definitely, let's just say that if you were on Pornhub, she'd be in the mature category. Let's just leave it at that. She's actually very skinny. She's actually a very thin woman, which is cool. It's cool with me. I'll tell you, I like a slender build anyway, but my point is that a lot of the women, despite the fact that they're out of shape, they've been culturally brainwashed because they're women to like not work out in the gym because it like that's a manly thing to do. When in the United States, you see people of all, sometimes, I don't know, sometimes I guess gender equality in certain cases is obviously very good, but when it gets to the point where like if a man decides he wants to be a woman and then compete in athletics with real biological women, that's fucked up. And that's kind of what I'm saying. Like the whole PC culture, I think, is making people weaker. It's making people shut their mouths. It's making people silence themselves. It's making people keep their thoughts to themselves. It's making weak children. You got a lot of kids in the United States, and obviously in other parts of the world too, but I'm talking about Mexico and the States specifically. You got a lot of kids where they're coddled, where they're made to think that, that they deserve to win, even though they don't put in the work or they might not have the natural ability. Like there's for example, there's little league baseball, or even basketball, or any kind of like competitive sport where normally there's a winner and a loser, but there's some leagues where there's no winners or losers. Well, what is that teaching the children? What is that teaching the children? I think that kids need to lose. Kids, well, not just kids, but everybody needs to experience loss, because it teaches you, first of all, that you can do better, that you need to put in the work to do better. It teaches you that, hey, maybe this isn't your thing. Maybe this isn't for you. Like, hey, I was made fully aware when I was a kid that math, not my fucking thing. Basketball, not my thing, because I got beat. I failed math test. It's not like the teacher would give me an A, to not hurt my feelings. You guys get what I'm saying? Now, I'm not saying this is the case with all American people. This was certainly never the case with me, but there's a lot of kids in the United States where it's like, a lot of them, they're not put in a position where they have to face adversity or loss or any kind of struggle. And that's due to, I think, PC culture. And in Mexico, I haven't really noticed that as much. Kids kind of what's the saying? Like water sinks its own level. Like if you're good at this but not good at that, you're probably going to end up doing the thing you're good at. So with that being said, I think Mexicans are tougher in that regard. I think Mexicans are tougher in that regard. Not to mention, Mexico is obviously a more poverty-stricken country than America. You do have a lot of very tough people that come from Mexico, both mentally and physically tough. You know, you've got people here in Mexico that, you know, that are living the same way they did hundreds of years ago, like in the jungle. Now, it's not a lot of them, but they're there, and I've seen them. So you telling me that's Billy fucking Picklestein and Cranberry Court, Michigan, whatever, is not, you know, that he's as tough from some kid who's grown up in the jungles of Chiapas, you know, who has to fetch water every day, who's got to, you know, climb trees and shit all the time, and has no no internet, right? You know, which we totally take that for granted. So Billy Picklestein's a little fucking bitch, you know what I'm saying? So, anyways, time we got here. Oh, we're still good, man. Yeah, so all in all, man, my experience in Mexico here is going well. You know, I've got to get like a permit basically to work on my residency here, so I can be legit. You know, be on the books. Be on the books, because I'm not trying to be a fucking wetback. Yeah, I said it. Give a fuck. So, Mexico's cool, man. Mexico's a cool country. There's definitely times where, like, you know, different things annoy me, but it's the same thing with any immigrant, man. Like, there's Mexicans that go to the States, and there's certain things about the States that they don't like. You know, that's just how it goes, man. But at the end of the day, Mexico's treating me right. That fucking Weasel upstairs, by the way, better not even look me in the eye as if he's not a fucking weasel. Dude, what a fucking weasel. Fuck that dude, man. Anyways, guys, I think I'm gonna wrap this bitch up. I actually got a class I'm gonna go teach here in the next couple hours. I'm gonna make a plan for it so I kind of know what to teach it. Yeah, I don't really fuck with Instagram much anymore, but if you guys do want to follow me, if you don't, I actually don't give a fuck, but I'll tell you anyway. My Instagram is @BraytonHoward. Yeah, that's my name. And I'll put that in the description box below, in the fucking comment section. If you guys do want to shoot me an email, you got a question you'd like, you know, cause I will do, like, I'm still going to make videos here and there. I'm still put out a b-hole here and there. And if I get a good email with, like, a legitimately good question, listen, if you email me and you're asking about teaching English in Phnom Penh, or you're asking about, you know, where to get drugs in Cambodia, or, like, how big my dick is, it's like, I'm not going to respond to you. I'm just, like, I've gotten so many of those already. It's like, dude, I've talked about it. I've talked about everything, man. So give me something new. If not, that's cool too, man. Thanks for listening. All is well with me, and I hope all is well with you too, y'all. Peace!